Thank you so much for being here. And my first question to you is, how did the idea of Social Entrepreneurship Association of Malta start? How has been your journey so far? What are your goals and objectives as of today?
Okay, so that's many questions in one, right?
Yes, I am
So
cheating.
um, just go back a few years, back to 2018, I believe it was, when I was engaged as part of a team of consultants to carry out some research on the social economy ecosystem in Malta. My, what I do on a full-time basis is ESG and sustainability consultancy, and so I had gotten roped into this project. It was an Interreg project, and essentially what we did is we analyzed the social economy ecosystem in the partner countries compared to what was happening across the EU. And we then also analyzed the legal framework, or in our case, the lack thereof, because we
Yes,
did not
yeah.
a legal framework on social enterprises. Other players of the social economy, yes, we did. So there were other activities in this project, of course, and I got to meet many interesting stakeholders throughout this project. But as you probably know, when it comes to EU projects, it often happens that a lot of good work is done. Recommendations are put forward, but then if there is nobody really driving to make sure those recommendations are being followed up, everything fizzles out, sort of thing. And I was so passionate about that project, and I got to love the topic so much that I felt that would have been a real shame, really. So I reached out to a few people who were part of this project and who we had interviewed as part of our research, people who identified as social entrepreneurs. And I sounded off this idea of creating an association, because we didn't have one at the time. We didn't have anyone who was promoting social enterprise or the social economy more broadly. And that is how it came about, actually. So the founding members of the organization were actually all people who had been interviewed as part of the
Mm,
project. There was interest. Obviously, we had no resources, no funding, nothing. So in the early days, especially, it was all our time and our drive and our passion, so to speak. But we did eventually make it happen. So we set up in 2019, because it's quite a process to get an association
yes,
registered.
yes.
And our first goal was to work with the authorities to at least have some kind of legal recognition for social enterprises, in the sense that our legal framework did not even have a definition of social enterprise. It didn't feature anywhere. So such social enterprises did not exist, essentially. And we managed to achieve that. So after quite a lot of pushing, so to speak, um, Malta adopted a Social Enterprise Act in 2022, and we feel that was our first win, so to speak. We still feel that the law that we have is not 100% what we would envision. But I must say that when the law was still at the draft stage, we were given the opportunity to analyze the legislation, to give our feedback, and many, if not all, of our recommendations were taken on. So that was our first achievement. Of course, as you know, the law means nothing if there is no ecosystem to
Exactly.
give it life. No. So what we are working on now is working with the authorities, but also working on our own steam and tapping into different resources, and working also with different stakeholders to build this ecosystem. We feel that we do have a lot of the resources that we need. They are not necessarily, let's say, categorized under the needs of the social economy, but we can tap into a lot of services and a lot of resources that exist within different pockets and coordinate them to create what we need for social enterprises and for the social economy more broadly. So that's the background.
Thank you. And you've mentioned the ecosystem. Who are some of these organizations that constitute the social enterprise ecosystem in Malta? Who are the organizations that you support, and what criteria do we need to follow to be supported by you?
When you say supported, you mean to become members?
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Okay, so we take a very, very wide view in the sense that when it comes to membership, it is open both to people who already identify as social enterprises. I'm saying identify because nobody in Malta as yet is officially recognized as a social enterprise, because although we have the legislation in place, we still don't have the administrative setup for social enterprises to be given their social enterprise label. So at this point in time, it's just people who identify, who feel that they have the ethos and the mindset of a social enterprise. So you have those people who are already running businesses, most of them micro businesses, very, very small businesses, very modest revenues. Many of them female-led social enterprises. I think that the majority are actually founded by females. Of course, not only, but there's quite a number, quite a concentration. So that's one group. But then we also have those who are just interested in the concept. So they are, let's say, intrigued by the idea of potentially becoming a social entrepreneur, but they have not yet made the leap. Or they are in academia, so they are studying social enterprises, or they are supporting supporting enterprises, but like mainstream enterprises, and they want to learn more about social enterprises.
Oh, that's great.
So yes, it's a very broad spectrum. So as I said, we keep an open mind when it comes to membership. The social economy in Malta still at its infancy level. So we feel we want to promote the concept. So we want to have broad access to our membership, and encourage and entice as many people as possible to become part of this movement, because that's what we feel.
And excluding actors never achieves much, right? The more people are included within social economy, the best, in order to make it more and more mainstream.
Exactly. In fact, I did not mention as well people who are in non-profits. We have a number of people who are either running non-profit organizations or working within non-profit organizations, but they are also trading. So potentially those people could convert their organizations into social enterprises eventually. So yes, we believe in working with a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including also obviously the public administration. They are key stakeholders. But as I said, we don't want to rely only on the public administration. We feel that we should be proactive and find resources elsewhere as well. In fact, what we have done in the past is apply for EU funding, for instance, to create training programs. So we didn't have it within our existing ecosystem. We identified a gap and we tried to fill that gap through our own efforts. Of course, this kind of approach needs ongoing effort and ongoing energy to find resources and make them available to our members and also others more broadly.
And you've mentioned that, of course, the ecosystem, it's quite in its infancy in Malta. Yeah. But where do you see your organization in 5 years? What are the next steps?
So we have a bit of an ambitious vision at this point.
Yes.
But we do feel that when it comes to sustainability in general and working towards achieving the sustainable development goals, we think that the social entrepreneurship mindset and the social entrepreneurship model can really help us get closer to achieving those goals. So we're seeing the social economy as a potentially new sector for Malta that can grow, that can create many effective solutions, that can create employment opportunities, also for people who are vulnerable. So we see a lot of potential in this, and we are working, as I said, with other stakeholders because we have an ambitious vision, and I think this is a sector that has a lot of growth potential with the right support and with the right frameworks in place. So again, we are looking at different resources that exist, both local and also within EU programs, to facilitate this process, to create the services that we need. We are aware we need to create a lot more awareness about social entrepreneurship and the social economy in general, especially locally amongst professionals, because typically if someone wants to set up an enterprise, they go to their accountant, no, they go to their lawyer. But if that professional does not even know what a social enterprise is, there is very little chance that they're going to advise that model to a potential client. So we feel that awareness raising and then education is really important. So we need to also create the demand. Also, when it comes to embedding principles of social enterprise and the social economy within existing academic programs, we feel that there's a lot of potential in that area as well. And then also educating the market. So why should I buy a product or a service from a social entrepreneur rather than a mainstream entrepreneur? So we need to work on that angle as well. And then we also feel that there's the need for existing social entrepreneurs who want to scale, or is new entrepreneurs who want to join the social economy. In order to do so, they need support, and they need support in terms of mentoring, they need support in terms of professional services, they need support in terms of funding and access to finance. So we are working on building systems, as I said, with existing stakeholders to be able to facilitate access to these services, because we want to see more social entrepreneurs, and we want to see bigger social enterprises who can make more impact as well.
Thank you. And looking at these future goals and the activities you've mentioned before, when did joining Euclid become relevant to you?
To be very honest with you, from day one. So it was something that we set to work towards, let's say, from our very inception. We always said we want to be part of a European organization, because we also know that we are, let's say, late when it comes to developing our social economy here in Malta, and we feel we stand to learn a lot from our peers in different countries, and we can perhaps identify programs and policies and systems that have worked in other places, and we want to see how we can make them work here in Malta as well. So we do believe in learn. We also feel we have what to offer as well to the European family. I think being Maltese makes us quite particular. In terms of the way we think, in terms of our resilience. We are small, but we are mighty, we are told. So I think working together always brings fantastic results. So yes, it was something we wanted to do from day one. As I said, we had limited resources, both in terms of time and also in terms of funds. So it is something that took a little bit more time than we wanted it originally, but we are here now and we are very happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. That was it for me. Thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna stop recording.